platform. I think that was a very thorough overview of what has been accomplished in the past 3 years. But from your perspective, where do you think that the most tangible progress has been made?
There's probably like 3 or 4 different things that really stand out. I think the two big ones, or 3 big ones. Firstly, changing the direction of where the city was going. One away from ideology, and one to just getting, focusing on what the city needs to do, what it's responsible for doing, and doing it well and getting better. So affordability, a big deal, fiscal responsibility. So like I mentioned in the discussion, we inherited a mess, and we just had to deal with it. And so we had to rebuild the foundation. We had to fully fund our police service, fully fund our fire department, build up reserves again. That puts us in this position now where we can start to build on that platform and look to the future. And it's relevant for this crowd because as a business person, I know what we want is, predictability, certainty, and a great environment. And we're very clear. This is a fiscally responsible administration where we want to do our part to make sure that we can make life affordable for the businesses and residents. So 0 means 0 twice, and then inflation adjusted after. And we're very clear about that. Public safety, we can do everything about speeding up permits and making life more affordable. But if people don't feel safe walking in the street, on the streets, or going to a local establisher, walking to work, or it doesn't even matter. And so public safety was a big deal. And if you remember where this place was when we first started, 300 tents. Structures on the downtown east side, Crab Park, Strathcona Park, Oppenheimer Park, the downtown east side. It was chaos. 5 random assaults in the city of Vancouver. And so we rebuilt the foundation, we made the hard choices, and guess what? And I know we still have work to do. A lot of it, root cause would be the province, but we can talk about that. Excluding the jarring incidents that really hit us to our core, crime is down pretty much across the board with the exception of a couple of select pockets that we're really focused on. Violent crime is down to a 23-year low, and we're proud of that. So those 2 things are pretty big. I think for this group here, what's also relevant, people talk about how they support business, right? It's easy to say, you can say whatever you want, but we actually have lived experience, and we are sending the signal that we understand your pain points. We also understand what it takes to make you successful, and we want you to succeed. And this administration is a pro-business, pro-prosperity, pro-opportunity administration that we're here to serve you so you can be successful in the city of Vancouver.
So a number of areas you feel that the tangible progress has been made. But looking back to your vision 3 years ago, where do you feel that expectations didn't meet results?
It's maybe I'll say from my own lenses, because I'm, although I'm the mayor, I'm also a resident of Vancouver, and I hold myself to the same standard. As an entrepreneur, as a business person, I want things to happen right away. As an aside, if I were to look at my own performance, my own actions, looking at very objectively, I think one of my something I could have done a lot better was the way I sort of carried myself. Like, I'm not a politician. I don't speak like a politician. I don't dress like a politician.
You are now.
Well, yeah, a little bit. Hey, we learn, right? So, no, but I say that very sincerely. Like, I think a lot of us, when we sit around these rooms, we have the same conversations, and it's like, I wish we could just have non-political people in office doing all the stuff that seems obvious. And that's how I approached it. And some of that worked, don't get me wrong. I think it's healthy. And I'll be the first one to admit that, sometimes it didn't work.
So what changed for you over the last few years that changed your mindset on the way that you appeared in the role?
I think more, it's not so much how much I appear, it's we learned how to do, we learned the rules of the, like how everything operates. The one thing I was surprised about, and I say this respectfully, like this isn't about any individual or whatever, I'm just, this is about, the institutions. I really believe that with the right spirit of intent, we can unlock so many things, so many positive things in our city. And I didn't realize how much politics and bureaucracy would fight change, even if it was for the good. Now, you can argue whether or not it's good or not, but I think we all talk about the same things using different words. Public safety, affordability, vibrant neighborhoods. I think most people want it, but it's amazing when you get down to it how much we had to battle. But we figured it out, and I'm actually, despite it taking a little longer than we thought it would, I'm really proud of our team's accomplishments. Once again, we're one of the only jurisdictions in the whole country that has a zero means zero budget. Not just for this year, next year as well. Public safety, it's gotten a lot better.
Well, let's start with the zero means zero, because part of what you just talked about, there's a vision for the future which takes into account that you would be reelected. So, you said that to be able to keep taxes low, that there needs to be a strong economy. Mm-hmm. And many people in this room would say that they're worried about the economy in British Columbia, the economy in Canada, but particularly British Columbia, which means the economy here for those of us in the city of Vancouver. Mm-hmm. So when you look at making that projection beyond 2026 of the zero means zero, how can you predict that sustainable, predictable kind of trajectory?
I would approach it a little differently, Bridgitte. At kitchen tables and boardroom tables across this city, this province, and this country of ours, there are conversations happening around how to make things work. I think we can all agree it's probable that we're going to be going through some challenging times, and you can make a choice. You can just go blindly and hope things are going to work out, or you can set yourself up to make sure you're prepared for it. That's the work we did 2 years ago when we relaid the foundation. And the business mindset comes in creating opportunity, like non-tax revenue that will help us augment some of the costs, like naming rights as an example. These are great things with like opportunities that's not a tax on anyone that generates revenue for the city. And so
Can you give us any status updates on some of those initiatives?
I forget what's in camera and what's not, so they're deals.
We're all friends.
Yeah. Yeah, no, maybe we'll clear it.
Okay, so rather than asking specifics, I mean, is there real progress being made on that revenue?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have line of sight. And that's why we also said inflation adjusted, because I don't think anyone knows where inflation is going to be 2 years from now. And I'm not taking a position on it, and we're not going to base the city's budget on an artificial rate of 2% or 8%. We just don't know. But I think
doesn't that make it quite tricky though when you're talking about $400 million for 5 community centers, which is drastically needed. Mm-hmm. But given the state of the economy and the need to be able to fund those projects,
it works in the funding models that we've projected out. It's sound.
Are you speaking to the federal government in regards to the Build Communities Strong Fund? I heard the announcement yesterday, a $51 billion fund. It's going to be spread out, some to provinces, some local level. I mean, are you trying to leverage some of that funding to help with the infrastructure needs in the city? Yeah,
the one thing we're pretty good at is speaking to all different levels of government that have money to help build homes. And so actually had the CEO of Build Canada Homes, Anna Bilal, in our office talking about this very issue and different opportunities 2 weeks ago. We were in conversations with Minister Robertson. We'd like the province to step up a little bit. here's an interesting a little tidbit. So Ontario and the federal government, they just came to an agreement where each government will contribute $4.4 billion each, and that money would go to be directed to reducing development charges on building homes. That's great. So we already have an example. That works. And Toronto, in this case, benefits from it.
Well, there are negotiations underway where there might be a similar deal for British Columbia.
Yeah, and so I like
on the GST on new homes.
Yeah, so my question is, we don't even have to reinvent the wheel here. We already have precedents that the federal government's willing to
Do you
step
think
up.
you can get some of that funding, though, for the infrastructure needs around community centers, or is this $400 million that you've earmarked, is that separate?
How they actually define it, that would be a bit of a gray area. Like, that should be, we've stated that we wanted any money that the province gets from the federal government to be directed to development charges, as an example, right? So it reduces the cost of homes. You can make an argument like facilities, they're an amenity. So that, as long as the environment we create, we can get more homes built so we don't have affordability challenges for generations to come, and we build it in such a way that Vancouver is a vibrant, livable city. And with density, guess what? We want more parks, we want more recreational facilities, or it's not going to be great. As long as we can do that, that's something that myself and our council will advocate for all day long.
Let's talk about public safety. We've seen the departure of a significant retailer from the Woodwards building area. Mm-hmm. We've seen the significant damage of yet another big grocery outlet, and that damage does seem to be quite significant because it's going to take some time to get Nestor's back in operations. Both have really commended the city for the kind of leadership. So the downtown east side, though, and this is even a question that I just saw on Slido as well, there are significant concerns that remain. And so what is the vision for the city? And you're going to need partnership from the province and the feds on this. So, I saw the picture, and yes, Crab Park was cleaned up and there has been some progress, but the situation is so entrenched in the downtown east side. So what are some of the solutions that you are considering and the help that's needed to get there?
Look, at the risk of getting really blunt, I actually think, conceptually, we already have the solution. It's just getting it done. So at the City of Vancouver, we only have certain tools. We have policing. As an example, that's our major tool. And so we get to react to things after the fact. And maybe we prevent a few things. And by the way, our Vancouver Fire and Rescue Services team, they're absolutely amazing. The lives that they save are just, and everything they do. And the speech was like really long, so I didn't have a chance to thank everyone. There's so many people in this room I want to thank, but just want to acknowledge them as well. So we can do our part here. We need two things. We need the provincial government just to do what they're responsible for and what they committed to. They are responsible for healthcare. We have people that are deeply sick, that are, that have like significant mental health challenges or substance use disorder. They need help. The province, a year and a half ago, committed to 400 beds. They finally committed, and I want to acknowledge them for that. But, not a single bed in the city of Vancouver for the people of Vancouver. And we're the biggest city, and we have the most pronounced need. It's ridiculous. So if they just did what they said they were going to do, we'd make a lot of progress. I'll get back to that in a sec. The last thing is the federal government. We've been lobbying for a while. We didn't have a lot of luck with the last administration, but with the current Prime Minister and Minister Fraser, this whole thing around catch and release or bail reform for repeat offenders. So we're very optimistic about that. Where now, we don't have a revolving door of people just being able to, do things and they just get released. Now the onus will be up to them to provide a reason why they should be released in those situations. So that's really positive. But I do want to, I know that it's going to be hard and it will take time, but the vision is we do have a solution. because I can tell you.
But the solution requires other levels of government.
Yeah, but we have the feds on board now, and if they operationalize, it's great. I want to paint a vision for you of how significant 400 people, getting 400 sick people into the healthcare they need will impact our city. If you were to Pareto chart this, those 400 individuals account for the vast majority of all the downstream things that happen on our streets. If they don't harm themselves, they pose a risk of harm to someone else. They vandalize stores, they break into places, and the root cause is a health care issue, so I don't want to sound terrible here. So you deal with the health care issue, you take them off, and guess what? You can make an argument that 80 to 90% of all the stuff that we see on the street goes away. And that's the important thing. Yeah. So we've been, look, and we still have to prove it out, but this is one of the reasons why I ran for mayor. There's 5 things. One was we can make a meaningful difference in the downtown east side. It actually isn't complicated. And if I didn't believe that, I wouldn't have run for office.
But so much of it is out of the control of the city, as you say.
Yeah, but it's in our control. Look at this room here. You don't think you have power to demand that our province steps up and just does their job?
I was talking about the roles and responsibilities, though, lie, as you talk about the healthcare and the legal system is provincial and federal. So going back to what is in the city's control, there is a significant amount of concern about Granville Street. And I think it was pointed out by Downtown Vancouver Business Association. I saw Jane Talbot in the room. They had a report out yesterday. So what is the progress in cleaning up on Granville Street?
So, like you mentioned, we don't have jurisdiction over a lot of these issues. That's not an excuse, because no one cares about excuses. The reason I said that was we just go around and we put pressure on the provincial government. And so the LUGAT, that's moving on, and Granville Villa and St. Helens, there's plans around there as well. And so those are the things that will take a little more time.
But do we have that time? You talk about welcoming the world in just a matter of weeks now. So we're going to be hosting 7 FIFA games. Granville Street would be a big draw for a lot of these tourists. I mean, will we see meaningful progress on Granville Street by the time the first game's played?
We're going to have an incredible, event. FIFA is going to be great. We will do everything we can to make sure that people have an incredible experience in the city of Vancouver. And I do want to be very clear here. We look at these 2 items as completely independent. We have had a humanitarian crisis going on our streets for 40 years. That was before FIFA. That's going to be after FIFA. This is going to take time. And in no uncertain terms are we going to take a non-humanitarian approach to vulnerable populations on our streets for any event. So we'll figure this out, and it will be done in a very, a way that honors and respects and supports individuals. And you know what? We can actually have a great time. FIFA is an amazing event, the biggest sporting event in the history of the world. It's 104 games. It's the biggest one ever. And so this is an exciting time, and we're looking forward to showcasing Vancouver on a world stage.
I want to get to some of the questions, and the most popular question is going back to the zero property tax increase. So the question here is, your thinking behind the zero means zero, when there are significant needs around the city and we're seeing some services being cut, which is being blamed on the zero-based budget, or the zero-based property tax increase. So what was your thinking in that, and how did you balance that?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. First of all, you'll get narratives in the media and social media that everything under the sun's being cut. And during the presentation, we're very clear. Community grants weren't cut, library hours, that's just factually incorrect. But it spins well in a narrative during an election season. What I can tell you is we are fiscally responsible. We built our foundation, we built up reserves, and we have to continue to build up the reserves. So, we're more agile and financially resilient. and these numbers work in the plan. And so
Was there a danger, though, of, keeping it at zero? Is there a danger that you're taking away from other necessary services to be able to do that?
I think, so like every conversation that's having at a kitchen room, a dining room table or a boardroom, we just have to get smarter. And so we have to do better with what we have. And it's not about focusing, like cutting important things, it's focusing on the important stuff. We have to be disciplined. And when you talk about a $2.3 billion budget, can I get a show of hands here? Does anybody think that any government in the city or like in the world runs at 100% efficiency?
I don't think you're going to have anybody say
Okay,
yes to
so what are we talking about here? Like in our houses as well. Like today, I looked at my kids had all the lights turned on. It's like, that's just turn them all off as an example. Like a really bad example, but I think we have to they love me at home. But we're asking everyone in this room synthetically, you know what? You have to get more efficient, because if you don't, you're not going to be in business. Why is the City of Vancouver any different? We owe it to you to make sure that we look at things, and if there are things that we don't need that aren't core services, or we can think of ways of doing things a little better. So, that shop on Granville Street gets a little more of a break on their taxes, as opposed to, there are other individuals that want to increase property taxes by 6 to 7% a year. They're not, one outcome could be they're not having conversations about, well, are we actually running this place well? It's just, well, let's just increase it because. Like that, I think we owe it to the city to do the work, ask the hard questions. And you know what? The City of Vancouver will be in a way better spot than other municipalities, and the residents and the businesses that do business here, they will have a better environment than other municipalities as well. And that's something I will fight for all day long.
So how then do you respond to the question, the second one down there is a question, now it's at the top, a private expensive holiday event prioritized instead of the Train and Burn fundraiser?
Why was it? Okay, so, we're not the Burn Fund. They can, they make decisions, and they had give them a lot of credit. They had a great event in Surrey, and we should celebrate the fact that money was raised, and that's good. And we had there was a great event that was hosted in the City of Vancouver at Stanley Park. I know it wasn't for all people, but a lot of people enjoyed it. They had a great time, and that's okay. I think, I think that's great.
Can you respond to the question at the bottom about funding for lifeguards at beaches?
I can't even see the question.
It's moved up to the top. It's moving around. Around safety, why have you cut funding for lifeguards at our beaches? Okay,
so
and I think this is important because you're talking about what's in the city control.
Yeah, no, this is once again. I think people have to realize jurisdiction. That's the park board.
So the city has nothing to do with funding for lifeguards?
What I can tell you is, as the mayor of the City of Vancouver, we will make sure our beaches are safe.
But is that the park board responsibility or the city's?
At the end of the day, if the park board makes their decision and if they can't justify why this is safe, I'll be the first one that will lead the charge to override that, because at the end of the day, we want people to be able to enjoy our beaches and be safe. Once again, in funny season during an election, people make a lot of comments that aren't factually correct.
Speaking of the season, this is your fourth State of the City address. Every year you come and speak to a very large group of business leaders. Thank you for doing that. This could be your last one, or it could be before the next one in a year from now after the election. So knowing that that is in the calendar, what is the one message that you would want these business leaders to know about your time in office and about where you want to take the city next.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's been an absolute honor and privilege to be able to be in this role as mayor of the city of Vancouver. And that's something I will always cherish. And it's been a pretty incredible experience, and the trust that a lot of people put into myself and our council, it absolutely blows me away. As it relates to this room here, because it's a business crowd, you know what? We have an incredibly bright future ahead of us. Look, when we started, we probably wanted to, in hindsight, would have wanted things to happen a little faster. But we did build the foundation. We did turn the ship around. We're in a position where we can provide, I think people know the direction of where we're going as a city, and it's going forward. It's positive. And so you have the clarity and consistency, and we're just getting started. If we're given the opportunity to, be in office with a majority on council, this thing, we can continue on all the good work we've done and really amplify it. We were kind of handcuffed for the first 2 years, just figuring things out. We figured it out. We know where we're driving, and we have an incredible future. And I'm looking forward to, if given the opportunity, would absolutely be humbled and would be honored to see this one through.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.